decades of hoping. It's nice to be here at all. They didn't see us coming, but we can make it alone. Let's just believe until we have to go home.
Welcome in. Good morning. It is another Euro breakfast, and it's one with a difference today because it's not a more kind of, well, let's say biased. It's not a biased Scottish voice you're going to hear. Today I have two guests of an English persuasion this morning. So let me introduce. Firstly, on you right as you're looking at the screen, Mr. Diz, outstanding FM streamer, general content creator, just all round good guy. How you doing, my man? Welcome in.
Mozza, not a lot happens on a Tuesday. I can guarantee you this is the best Tuesday morning I've ever had. Thank you for having me on.
I'll ask you this later on, but the question is it coming home?
It's we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
And below me, as you're looking as well, another guy who I really enjoy watching FM wise. He's developed a love of Clyde, bizarrely, but we'll probably delve into that at some point as well. Scoops Callan, how you doing, mate? Welcome in.
Not bad, mate. How are you?
Very well, very well. I feel like there's no pressure on me, whereas you guys will be feeling it. So
no, I never feel pressure. Just I don't sweat. Where have I heard that before?
Oh, peace express it your heart out.
Sorry.
Moving on swiftly. It's already gone downhill. What we'll do, as always, is we'll start with yesterday's games, and it's not like we've got much to talk about, is it? Just the best day of tournament football I've ever seen. So, Croatia-Spain first up, 5-3 Spain after extra time, but I just loved this. Everything about this game I absolutely loved as a neutral, and I genuinely thought Croatia were going to do the business. There's a brilliant save for Unai Simon at 3-3 in the first half extra time that changed the game, because if Croatia go 4-3 up, you never know. But I'll start with yourself, Diz. How did you see this going, and then how did it play out for you?
I mean, so I see Croatia as I look at international football as cyclical. And I see Croatia as the end of their cycle. You know, a lot of star players who are. This is probably the last tournament. They might be able to stretch it into December, into Qatar next year. I did see them losing, but the fact they managed to push it to extra time from an injury time equaliser was huge. It was a great performance, to be fair. And I think so. You know, they can be happy with the way they've gone out. Yes, they lost in extra time. Sorry, they had two golden chances during extra time to at least score another goal. They did really well. They did really well, and ultimately, I think age caught up on them.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. I also I was kind of reassured by the fact that now all of our group opponents have done well. We'll see how England do today, but it makes us look slightly less bad at this point. How did you find it, Scoops?
Do you know what? Just to reiterate what Diz said there, you know, and it's probably a bit of a weird comparison, but Croatia reminded me very much of England in about 2006. You know, we had a very aging team, but a team of quality players. And I think it's just where, you know, Croatia at the end of the day were 3-1 down with 10 minutes left. To come back into it, they made some big changes in that last 10 minutes, 15 minutes, that really changed the game and gave them the opportunity and the chance to get back. And to come back from 3-1 down to get it to 3-3, and just before, you know, then going into extra time, I honestly thought Croatia would go on and win that. I honestly thought that would be the case. But Spain just showed the goods there. They've got a young squad now, Spain, and then there's a lot of players there where you think they're not massive names. There are some big names in that Spain squad, but they're all round quality players. So now I think at the beginning of this tournament, not many people were talking about Spain because they haven't had a great couple of years. But they could be seen as a bit of a dark horse now, especially with seeing the other results that happened yesterday as well. But yeah, it was a great game. And it's, you know, yesterday was it's probably the best day of Euros I've witnessed ever, with those high scoring games. So no, it was, again, the age caught up with Croatia, didn't it? And that young Spain squad really did take it out of them.
Yeah, I must admit, ever since I called out Spain for maybe not being very good, they've gone and scored 5 goals 2 games in a row. So maybe I need to change my assessment slightly of them. But I just think their defence is there to be got at. And yesterday showed that. Croatia didn't do anything too complex. Obviously, Modric played a few fantastic through balls, but generally it was just they were getting in the face of Pau Torres and they were just making him uncomfortable. Laporte had a decent game, but I feel like there's goals to be had against them. And up front, they've got an issue because Morata, even though he got a goal, he's still missing chances. The kind of plus side for Spain is I feel like Ferran Torres is coming through now as basically, we mentioned yesterday, David Villa as a comparison. He seems to be that kind of guy that is going to grab a goal a game and really drag them through. But yeah, like, how do we think now going forward for Spain? Are we think semi-finals, finals after that, or are we worried about them?
I think the tournament has just totally blown wide open. I think if you started the tournament, you'd say that Spain have scoring issues. You know, that their defense is fine. You know, getting Laporte in there was huge, and you'd probably suggest that their defense is better than their attack. The last 2 games, they've totally flipped that, and now, and especially yesterday, their attack is better than their defense. I mean, Morata had a great game. He missed his chances, but his all-round play was pretty good, pretty spot on yesterday, to be fair. I mean, can they go far? I think anyone, now that France are knocked out, and we'll go on to that in a minute, anyone can win it. Anyone can win it, including Spain.
I think some big teams have gone out over the last couple of days. That's the thing. The Netherlands going out to the Czechs. That's massive. You know, I know they weren't rated again. They've had another bump in the road, haven't they? A lot of those big sides have had bumps in the road over the last couple of years. And, you know, seeing Spain now, probably, realistically, the Italians, I was lucky enough to go and see Italy the other night. They didn't look great. You know, they had a relatively easy group to get out of. And, you know, if you had that structured style of play that the Austrians had, you know, they should have won that game. They should have beaten the Italians, and they were unlucky not to. So I think nobody set the world alight this Euros. I don't think there are teams there that are anyone can really fear. I think you can go into any game and anybody could win it. I think that's the situation, apart from England versus Germany today, where we are going to lose, but that's it. I don't like to be too negative, but it is 9:10 in the morning, so I am very negative. It's at least 5 o'clock when I finish work, so there you go. So
5 o'clock comes, you have 3 lines playing.
Yeah, exactly that. George's cross on my face, you know, all going. So
I'm just picking up 1 or 2 comments in the chats. Baz are saying Perisic was missed. I actually thought Rebic had a brilliant game, and I know Emma Hayes, by the way, again, who's fantastic on commentary, she called it pretty well, because he's not the most gifted footballer, but he's really effective. Like, he was just bullying. Ironically enough, it was more Pau Torres he was bullying, because Azpilicueta was basically a right winger at points. But I was really impressed with Croatia, even though they ended up going out. The issue they had was when it hit full time and they'd had that comeback, suddenly they had about 9 attackers in the pitch. And it was a case of, well, we can't really change. We've got 1 sub now. We might as well just keep going for it. I still think they win if they score that 4th goal. Like, that was the big moment, and it was an unbelievable save for Unai Simon. He made up for his comical error, I think we'll put it as. Like,
and that's kind of what you expect from your goalkeeper, right? To turn up in the big moments. And you know, there's not a lot of clarity in relation to who Spain's number 1 is if you're on the outside, and you can see why he is. Yes, that error was comical. Yes, it was Simon's fault. Yes, he should have put his foot on it properly. But when it came to it, he carried on playing, and it's a very different perspective if Croatia go 4-3 up.
Yeah,
because you know, they've got a lot of attacking players on the pitch, but it's a very different perspective if they go 4-3 up. Can Spain pull it back? But making that save, Spain go ahead, and I think it was within 2 or 3 minutes they score the next goal, and it's game over.
I'm seeing Alba apologising for predictions yesterday. I think we were all quite wrong, mate, so don't worry about it. I will get into the next game in a minute, but yeah, we'll just kind of finish up here then on, like we touched on maybe how Spain are going to go after this. I've got a funny feeling that Spain are potentially going all the way to the final now, because momentum's a huge thing in these tournaments, and to get 5 goals on the spin, even though they've just had extra time, it's taken out the legs a little bit. There's a lot to be said for getting on that wave, scoring goals constantly, and now Morata's got a goal, he'll probably kick on. As Diz said, his build-up play generally was really decent, he contributed a whole lot for his team, and we'll get to Mbappe shortly, but Mbappe didn't, so that was a big difference with 2 guys that hadn't scored.
I know I'm really prepared, but who's Spain got in the next round? Like who have they come up to?
Switzerland.
Switzerland. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. We'll go on to them then.
So their route to the final is Switzerland, and then they've got Italy or Belgium.
Yeah.
And like I say, any of those 4 teams, and Switzerland now, I'm not going to lie, like they're going to be on a proper high after doing what they did yesterday. But it's, if you asked any of these teams if this would be a route to the final, I think they'd have taken it. Apart from Belgium, maybe. Belgium will have the toughest route. If they beat Portugal, they then beat Italy, they then potentially beat Spain to get to the final. Everyone else, I think, has had what you'd call an acceptable route to the final when you were planning this.
That's a good point, actually. Belgium's route is ridiculous.
Yeah.
If they get to the final, you've got to put them favourites. It's the old iron sharpens iron argument, but I kind of agree with what you said as well, Scoops. I don't think any one nation is properly shone yet. Italy were the ones that got the praise in the group stage, but even then, there's been points where, like in that knockout game, they looked fallible, so it'll be interesting to see if Spain are now going to be the nation that shines, or if one of the other nations are going
I think you've got to think as well. I think from a point of view of the way it's been created, the Euros, I think Italy have had a bit of an unfair advantage as well. You've got to think they've played their 3 games all in it. They think they've played all their 3 games in Rome, didn't they? So it was like playing at home. It was like playing at home for them, and so they were there, confident, playing decent football. And you've got to think, you've got to look at them and say they probably did have the easiest group out of the big teams who were playing in the Euros. They probably did have one of the easiest groups. But again, it's just they played at Wembley the other night, and they just didn't look like the team that you'd seen for those first 3 games. They looked lost. They did look lost, and especially if a team came with a plan, which Austria did, and they were very unlucky. They were very unlucky at the end of the day. But again, I don't think any team you sit there and think, yeah, they've been great. You can sit there and easily watch them and go, oh yeah, they're going to win it. I haven't seen anyone like that at the moment.
Well, talking of Austria, where they failed, Switzerland succeeded. So let's move into that game now. 3-3 after extra time between France and Switzerland. Mbappe misses a key penalty and the Swiss go through. And this is the biggest shock. It's got to be, right? Like, I can't see any other, even potential game going forward that's going to be as surprising a result as this. I personally totally written off Switzerland, but I've seen a few people kind of giving them a chance in this one, and France only played for half an hour. That was out of 120 minutes. They turned up, they played brilliantly in that half hour. Otherwise, I think the Swiss deserved it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Switzerland, when they went 1-0 up, I thought, okay, France will switch on. They'll get to half time. They'll have a team talk, and then they'll change up a bit and see. And we saw that. We saw that change when they got that penalty and that was missed. Within 2 minutes, they were 2-1 up. And that was that. You saw some of that passing football there. That was the France we know and watched for the last 5 years now. And to be sitting here saying they've lost on penalties, to give credit to Switzerland, that last 10 minutes again, another team who were down, you thought that was it, game over, it's 3-1. I think tactical changes really affected that as well. I think Deschamps made some mistakes by bringing Sissoko on because he wanted to see the game out, but Switzerland looked dangerous. They did look dangerous, and they took advantage, and they were still there taking chances even when they were 3-1 down. And again, it's another team that you've got to just give credit to. For that 90 minutes of football was the best football we've had this tournament so far. Sorry, I'm just in the comment. But yeah, no, I think they did deserve it in the end. And Mbappe, he missed probably 3 or 4 good chances there, didn't he? I think in that game there were a lot of chances there he missed. You know, a confident Mbappe with that effort on his left foot that he then tweaked an injury on. You know that everyone does at 5-a-side. If I hit it over the nets or over the stands, I do go, "Oh, that's Mohamed gone. I'm going to come off now instead of embarrassing myself." He did exactly the same with that left foot. You know, and a confident one would have been taken out on his right and put that bottom right hand corner, but he wasn't confident. He was not confident last night.
Yeah, and Mbappe that's on a goal scoring run takes it on his right and bends it around the keeper, I think. And it's a different game at that point. But
I just think there's been a lack of... So for France, I think there's been a lack of free-flowing attacking football throughout this whole competition. They've got, if you look at their team, they've got the best team on paper, which is why many people put them as favourites. And I feel like it's kind of echoed throughout the whole tournament. A lot of the biggest teams have got the best attacking players. England are an example as well. It's very rarely do you see them off the reins. Like everyone just seems so disciplined. It's like they put be more disciplined rather than express yourself. For a Football Manager reference, although I know it's not express yourself. It's just Mbappe hasn't turned up this tournament, and you know I've got my own views on Mbappe that he hasn't really developed as well as he should have over the last 3 seasons. I mean, Benzema. Fair play to, and I feel bad for Benzema. He's obviously been out the international wilderness. I don't know the full ins and outs why. Comes back after 6 years. 33 years old. I didn't know he was 33 years old. Once again, this is probably his last tournament. Maybe he'll stretch it to the next one. He was on fire. He showed why he's one of the world's best strikers. If Mbappe turns up, France probably do go far in the tournament. Mbappe didn't turn up.
I think that's fair. And there's a thing about Mbappe, and I know the way you're kind of coming from this it might be slightly different to other people, that his attitude isn't great. I don't think. I think there's a bit of him that thinks I've already made it. It's not like the comparison between him and Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano just works his backside off every single day of his life to be better and be the best. I don't see that with Mbappe. I feel like he's more of a Pogba style. I've made it. I'm going to enjoy this. Like the status, the fame, like everything that comes with it. He just needs to knuckle down, I think. Because obviously they're all talents here and they can still get better, but he's just not impressed this tournament at all, for me.
For me, he hasn't really impressed in a while. Like, we all know Mbappe, right? He absolutely smashed it. Like, he came onto the scene and he was the next big thing. He was the natural heir to the throne of Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, I'm scared of his pace because he can run really fast.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, I'm a Man United fan, so I've seen a lot of him over the last 2 or 3 seasons in the Champions League. We played him 4 times. Yes, you are scared of his pace. But I think you're scared of the idea of Mbappe rather than the actual Mbappe that turns up on the pitch. And I feel like you're right. He probably does need to knock it down a little bit. He probably does need to become, the best player in the world rather than think he's the best player in the world.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
it's an interesting point there from Bay saying back 3 took the extra man out of the midfield, really helped turn the screw. It's almost like France could have done with a Laporte at the back, almost. But we saw what happened there in the end. It was something else that was called out by the commentary team. I think it was Ali McCoist that mentioned it, that obviously normally they've got a midfield 3 and they're really comfortable with that, but Kante was dropping off a lot more last night into more of a kind of anchorman position, and there was just little gaps coming through which don't really happen in the midfield against France normally, and the Swiss took full advantage of it basically. But I just don't think they really kind of pulled out a proper performance and have been punished for it.
I thought Kante looked all right last night. I think there was some moments of magic he did there. He took, he would go and do a couple of shimmies and he'd take 3 people out of the game, but then it didn't feel like he had that. I know everybody rates Pogba, and yes, he did score an absolute screamer last night, but I felt like he probably let it down a little bit. I think it felt like Kante was moving around a bit, and I know probably Pogba was in more of a playmaking role, but it just didn't feel like a solid middle 2 or a centre midfield. It just didn't feel solid at all when you needed that. Because if you look at how Switzerland played, I know they had a couple of goals with the headers, but most of their play in that last 10 minutes came through the middle of that park. When they brought on Sissoko to try and make it more solid and get that going. You know, a lot of the play was in the middle of the park, and tactically, that was an error there. There was an error, but you know,
the issue they had was normally Rabios on the left-hand side of that midfield three, and he was more left back last night. Sissoko was playing on the right wing. I don't know what his position was when he came on. He seemed to just do his own thing at some point. But yeah, like I feel bad, kind of maybe even criticising Pogba slightly, because at 3-2, I'm ready to say that's the best performance of the tournament so far that he's put in. He was unbelievable at points last night. He also is going to get a bit of flack because his dance after his goal basically said that he thought the game was done. So that isn't.
I mean, he did 7 dances. He did do 7 dances. It was like literally he didn't know which one to do, so he came out with them all. And he was still celebrating like 3 minutes after the goal was scored because he was doing so many. I mean, fair play to him. I mean, me personally, I think Pogba had a great game. I think he's been one of the players of the tournament, if I'm honest with you. I get that, you know, for up until the 80th minute or so, you would have suggested that, you know, they were going to bring it home. And I get it, because like they played really well for that half an hour, that 35-minute period after half time. But yeah, it's anything can happen in football, and yesterday kind of shows that.
Yeah, I would say it was more probably, like I said, it's probably for me from point. At the end of the day, I'm a Gillingham fan. I don't sit there and watch Pogba week in and week out. Okay, just to make that clear. But from my point of view, the way I saw it yesterday was, I think maybe it wasn't that Pogba had a bad game, but it was more of that tactically Deschamps got it wrong that last 10 minutes. I think if he had changed it slightly or brought in, maybe made it a bit more structured, instead of trying to play the typical, again, going back to Diz's FM reference, expressive, and playing that and trying to bring them into a bit more structured approach, they would have seen that game out. They would have seen it out, and they still didn't do that. They were 3-1 up. They were still trying to get another goal. They kept pushing, but Switzerland just took advantage. That was it.
The thing is, they got a fright at 3-2 as well. Switzerland had a brilliant chance they missed, and they didn't learn the lessons. And it was just a simple ball through, and the defence were static. So you'd have thought they'd maybe have dropped deeper at that point and gone, right, let's see this through. But France going to France, they're going to play their way, you know, and it's ended up to a fault. It's cost them in the end. But how do you see Switzerland doing now is the main thing that I'd focus on after this.
I mean, Switzerland, I think, I mean, they've done really well to get through to the quarterfinals. Bearing in mind they had France in the first knockout round. I think they should be happy with that. I mean, I'm not going to rule them out, because you can't rule anybody out of this tournament. I mean, yesterday you would have easily said that the quarterfinal was going to be France versus Spain. Croatia made a game of it, and Switzerland knocked out the favourites. Where do Switzerland go? I mean, I think if they get knocked out versus Spain, they can still hold their heads up high. But like I say, I think we're looking at it reputationally. Rather than what's actually happening on the pitch. Anything can happen. After yesterday, anything can happen.
I'm going to ask you this one quickly, Diz, just before we jump over to Scoops for a last word on this. Wald's asking in chat, does watching Pogba play for France annoy United fans, since he appears to be a lot better for his country?
He appears to be a lot better. So this season, we've got the best out of Paul Pogba. Under Ale, we've got the best out of Paul Pogba. I do think he can be better. I think when you see tournament football, you see a little snapshot, because you've got 7 games maximum from beginning to end. It's easy to be at your best for 7 games. I feel like this season we've seen a lot of good of Paul Pogba, but because he plays for Man United, we'll focus on the weaknesses and the poor parts of his game. Yesterday was a snapshot of him. I mean, he gave the ball away at one point, but everyone was... If it doesn't cost France the game, everyone will be lauding his genius. Yeah. And that's exactly what happens at Man United. Is it frustrating? Yes, slightly. I'd like to see a bit more consistency, but Man United aren't set up like France are, and I think they will be in the future, or they hope to be. It's whether Paul Pogba is there or not, and I don't think he will be.
It's a good point. Yeah, and obviously it's a different role he plays for France as well. That when he played at Juventus, that was his role, the right of the midfield three, box to box, and he is world class at it. Manu does a slightly different job, and he might not get the same credit for his performances because
Manu haven't got a defensive midfielder. Manu haven't got a defensive midfielder, which means he has to be more refrained from going forward. Yeah. And because of that, I mean, like Fred McTominay, they're not defensive midfielders, and because of that, he has to be more refrained from going forward, which obviously prevents him doing all the beautiful things that you love Pogba doing.
What he needs is a Matic type back again, like someone that's happy to sit and let him do his thing. I would suggest, because when Matic was there, he was a different player for Man U as well. I don't know if you guys will agree that are watching or whether you think I'm talking rubbish here, but we'll soon find out. Last word from you then, Scoops. How do you see the Swiss doing?
Do you know what? I think I'm just looking at some of the team breakdown and so on, and there's some really good points actually in the overview. And you know, the Swiss haven't got a bad side. You've got to think they've got some good players in there. They've got some very good players in there. And the good point is that the weaknesses that they said which could actually prove to be a positive, is a lot of their key players are quality players, but they spent most of the season being on the bench for top side. So like Shaqiri on the bench for Liverpool. You've got to think, right, for these world-class players, that it's been a long 18 months, hasn't it? You think we had the cancellation of the season, started up again, May, June last year, and they were back into another season in September. So they haven't had a break, you know. I think the Swiss could do well if they've got a lot of their ability is in there, not world class players, but very good players. I think they could go far. Yes, they've got a difficult game against the Italians. Spain next round. But I think they could surprise us again. I think
The most important thing for Switzerland is they've got Severovic scoring goals now. And that's what you need. You need a striker scoring goals. Look what Schick's done for the Czech Republic as well. It always gives you a chance. Like Lukaku for Belgium is another one I'd put out. That as long as you've got a front man in form, you've got a shot, regardless of who you're playing in a tournament like this. You've got to be good enough to get through, and then who knows. So then, there's a certain early kickoff today that's it's quite an interesting one. Gentlemen.
It's coming on. It's too early to start that. It's too early.
No, it's never too early. We're in tournament. You go to sleep, you sing that song. You wake up, you sing that song. That song should be your ringtone.
I must admit, I woke up this morning going, "You've got to hold and get." That's what I woke up to this morning. So you know, there you go.
Bit of John Barnes.
Yeah, exactly.
Bananas. So, how are we feeling? England, Germany. Are you confident? Are you nervous? How's it going to go?
Diz, I'll let you start.
Yeah, thank you, Scoops. I'm nervous, and I'll tell you why I'm nervous, because I'm obviously older than a lot of people. So I remember a lot of our tournament defeats against Germany, regular tournament defeats. I'd say apart from Scotland, who are our local rivals, I'd say tournament-wise, our biggest rivals are Germany. Germany, once again, talking about that cyclical nature of it, Germany are coming towards their end of that cyclical part. You know, a lot of their players played, I say a lot, quite a significant proportion played in the 2010 game with the goal score from Lampard. None of England's have. I don't think if England can not be haunted by the past, and I think the only link to the past is really Gareth Southgate.
Yeah.
I feel like we've got a good chance, but it's the Germans. And I have seen the worst German team I've ever seen in 2002 get through to a World Cup final.
Yeah.
Sometimes the Germans just do what the Germans do. So I am nervous about today just because it's Germany, more so than anything, and they know how to do this.
I mean, the thing that concerns me about Germany, if you're kind of supporting the Germans in this, is they've only had one performance this whole tournament. And it's not a great place to go into this game. And the thing with Germany, from their point of view, is they see the Dutch as their big rivals. Again, like Scotland, England, that kind of locality thing. I don't think they see as much a rivalry as it is the other way around. I think England see more of a rivalry against Germany. I don't know if that'll play into things though. The home crowd, you'd think, will help. There's going to be 40-odd thousand people, basically 2,000 Germans and the rest supporting England because of the quarantine rules, basically. But you'd think that's going to give England a boost as well, having the home crowd behind, especially if they take the lead. Go behind, it might be a long day though. What are you thinking, Scoops?
Yeah, do you know, I've been very negative about England in the first three games of this tournament, because I think it's because, and it goes back, it's very good points about how we've got this quality there. We have got quality in this squad, but we just don't seem to express it at all. We don't let them play. But it's a very good point. Another streamer who I've been talking to a lot, FM Folklore, he's very much come to me and said, if this was Germany, we're very structured, we're defensive, we're solid. We haven't conceded a goal yet this tournament. You know, we are playing structured. We haven't had many attempts on goal. If this was a German side who have been very known to be played a structured style of football, I think, you know, we wouldn't be slating them. We'd be like, oh, it's the German way, but they're doing it. But because we've all sitting here, England, we get so frustrated with the slow play that we have at the back. I just feel distraught all the time just watching them. Like, I must admit, it was over the Scotland game. Don't go on about it, Mozza. I know it was your World Cup, but fine, all right. Okay, but you know,
we won 0-0, right?
Yeah, big 0-0. Yeah, we won 0-0. Yeah, exactly. No, but I sat there and just thought, what are we watching? And then for the first 20 minutes of the Croatia game, I sat there and said, oh my God, we got it. This is it. We got the mix right. And then we just went asleep again. It just, I don't feel positive. I don't feel positive about today. But all I can say is that Germany haven't turned up this tournament either. They had one good game against Portugal, and that's it. They still haven't been. They scraped through with that, or not scraped through, but you know they get the equaliser with against Hungary late on. They just haven't set the world alight yet.
Yeah,
but it's knockout football, isn't it? So
I mean, we're still waiting for England to arrive, but they're doing the fundamental things well. They're not letting goals in at the back. They're grinding results out. There's a lot to be said about that in tournament football, especially if they start clicking.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that. I mean, what I would say is coming into the tournament, I'll probably say our defence is our weakness and our attack is our strength. Mm-hmm. Fact is, we haven't conceded a goal in 3 games. On top of that, we've scored 2. I mean, ultimately, if our attack can click, ideal. But this is probably the game where being so dogged, having Rice and Phillips, having your defensive midfielders, and I wouldn't play with 2 traditionally, but in this game I actually would, because this is the game where you want to eke out that 1-0. Because if I'm England and Germany and I'm looking at the route to the final, this is like, if you, like I say, and once again, I'm trying not to disrespect other teams, so please don't think I am disrespecting them, and anything can happen. But on paper, if you planned your route to the final and you're saying, I beat Germany and then I've got potentially, Sweden, Ukraine, Denmark or Czech Republic to get through to a final, I'm biting your hand off.
Yeah,
I'm biting your hand off. I'm saying, holy moly, hell yeah. So if I'm England, I'm doing whatever I can. I don't care how bad, for the first time, I don't care how bad our performance is today. If we can eke just that one moment, then we'll go through. Then I'm happy with that. I'm worried about his stifling and going to penalties though, and that's just because of Stockholm, or what is it? I've got PTSD from previous tournaments. I'm just worried about it getting there though, to be fair.
Side note, the penalties last night before Mbappe were phenomenal as well. Forget the penalties and they're that good again. I think England will be in trouble, in all honesty. But I agree with you. I think you basically want to win this in the 90, and you don't need to end fancy. Just get the result. Then something like, you can't ask for a better route to the final. The thing is, you need to obviously go through it. But if you get past, do you remember everyone was saying that England didn't want to win the group? And if they hadn't won the group, they'd ended up in the same side of the draw as all the big nations. It's just shows you should always go for the wins. But it's all worked out like the last time in Russia. It's all worked out well for a path for England. The question is if they can go the whole way, or whether Germany will be the one that benefit.
And we still bottled it then as well, you know. Croatia were a good side, you know, that was 3 years ago, you know, they were younger sides and, you know, still there. But we bottled it then, didn't we? We did, and a lot of people say that. We had an easier, favourable path and we still didn't get to a final. But I think today I'm probably being more negative because, like this said, PTSD of the tournament back in 2018. Like I said, I will take a 1-0 win. I will grab your hand and I'll literally just go run to the hills, never be seen again. I'll take that 1-0 win. But I think if we do, it's going to be a 0-0 on these on penalties. If we both sit back, structured, both play our similar styles of play, try and hit counter attacks and so on. We just need to get a bit more of that freedom up between those front 3. It just feels like they're a bit isolated at the moment with both Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips play. Who Phillips, I think, has been potentially our player of the tournament so far. He's been outstanding as well. And I must admit, I was very anti-Phillips before with Leeds' first season in the Premier League as well. I must admit, I was not his biggest fan, but he's turned my views on him completely this tournament. He's been different class. But I just think if we do set up, we are going to set up with Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips in the middle.
Yeah.
We need to, because again, like I think somebody said in the chat earlier, you got Gundogan in the middle as well. I can't remember the other one who said as well, but it's trying to keep them quiet, isn't it? And I think, yeah.
You think it's going to be Gundogan and Tony Kroos is our main kind of centre mid dangers, and I think you're right. I think England do need, and as you've mentioned this already as well, they do need that two defensive centre mid combo in this game. And all being well, if it plays out right, there should be room there for the front three. The worry I've got with England just now is Kane's dropping so deep. Like, he needs to stay further forward as a sole striker. He can drop off a little bit, but he's getting into midfield, and there's no focal point to that attack. It doesn't help the balance of the team whatsoever. So I think if he forces himself to stay up, even if he's not seen the ball as much, the question is who's going to be the guy supporting him. Is it going to be Grealish? Is Sancho going to come in from the cold? Is Bukayo Saka getting in?
So I'm the biggest Sancho fanboy in the world. I love Jadon Sancho. If you go into my stream, that's what. In fact, I've got an emote. So if anybody here is a sub, you'll see it in the chat. I love Jadon Sancho. For some reason, Gareth Southgate doesn't. I think he'll stick with Sterling, who's been our only goal scorer. See, there it is by Hudson.
Yeah, straight in there.
And Wally. So if you, I think he'll stick with Sterling, and I think he'll stick with Foden. He clearly said in the last game that Foden didn't start the last game because he was already potentially going to be without Mount and Chilwell. And that's why he didn't start with Foden, because Foden was a yellow card away from being suspended. So I think he'll go with what he thinks is his best team. Whether we all agree with that is another matter. I don't think it is. I think this is the perfect game to start Jadon Sancho. I think Jadon Sancho would. I think the German press are scared of Jadon Sancho. I think Jadon Sancho is a generational talent. I genuinely do believe in 2 years, everyone will be talking about Jadon Sancho more so than they are now. I just feel like we need to capitalise on that, but we won't. We'll play with the team that's expected. We'll play solid, and we'll hope we get that opportunity. We'll just see.
It's a big decision to bring Sancho into it.
Yeah.
It's a big decision. It's a big change, isn't it, for Southgate? You know, first 3 games he's played 20 minutes. And what does that say to you as sitting there watching Southgate? Why has he done that? Is he trying to keep him fit for these later stages of the tournament? I don't know. You know, I think again, like you said, Sancho is a massive talent, and he should be starting. He should be, but I think it could be a surprise night, and I think Sancho will start tonight. I think he will start, and I think again, going back to your point, Mozza, about Harry Kane. I think the biggest issue he's had this season is the way he's played for Spurs. You know, to score the amount of goals he has and get the amount of assists he has is because he's been playing that style of football, dropping in, playing it off, getting assists, but also as well scoring the goals. But the problem is you've got players around him who haven't been playing to that style. So, you know, we haven't had a massive amount of time of having that team to gel. I think his domestic season has really hindered him this tournament so far.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's because he's so used to playing with Son. And Son is your classic shadow striker who will go up beyond. England don't really have that in the structure that Southgate uses. There's not a kind of central number 10. DCL would be the one. You'd think Calvert-Lewin would be the one that could do that will get beyond and let Kane play through balls, essentially. But you're just not getting the most out of Harry Kane when he's dropping off and there's 2 wingers. It's like, well, I'm going to go sideways. You know, he's got to force himself to be more of a focal point up front, I think. Might just be a kind of basic view from me, but especially against a team like the Germans who don't have that. Like, they've got Timo Werner, they've got Serge Gnabry. They don't really have an out like goal scorer to lead the line. England have got one in Harry Kane, so you need to take advantage of him in a game like this. I would say if Timo Werner starts, he's going to miss a chance before he scores one. Harry Kane he's going to convert more. So that's an advantage, I would suggest.
I mean, their defense has got Matthias Ginter, Matt Hummels, Antonio Rudiger. Now, these three played the last time England played them, which I think was 4 years ago. I mean, the team is made for England to press them and attack them. Matt Hummels, great defender at his absolute peak, great ball-playing defender, no pace whatsoever.
No.
Harry Kane, who's not known for gifting his pace, has probably got more pace foot than Hummels. If I am him,
That's
I
harsh.
am literally just like keeping myself onto Matt Hummels because, 3 years ago, Matt Hummels and Thomas Muller, and I think it was Neuer as well, were never going to play for Germany again.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, Joachim Low decided that that's it. Your time is gone. They've now come back in the team. They'll probably Serge Gnabry up front most likely because that's where they've got their most success. Thomas Muller up front doesn't work. He's too slow, and they play a lot narrower when Thomas Muller is there because he's one of those, back to the goal type defenders and tries to work on people running off him.
yeah.
Gnabry will play on that last defender and try and spread the play out a little bit. What I will say is there's rumours that we're going to play three at the back today. Kyle Walker coming in at the right centre-back position. I wouldn't do that. I'd be quite wary of doing that because what you're basically saying is my 11... You're basically matching Germany and you're saying my 11 players are better than your 11 players. When you look at that central midfielder, Tony Cruz, even though he's not as young as he was, and he's not as mobile potentially, there's doubts about Gundogan, but if Gundogan plays or Goretzka, oh my God, I would take those two over Phillips and Rice every day of the week. And I think that's where they can literally just rip us apart. We'll see how we line up, but if we play three at the back, I think we will struggle, especially because we haven't played three at the back throughout the whole tournament, throughout the friendly games. It would just be a bit of a surprise.
Yeah,
I think, but also as well, I think some of since we've played three at the back, we only played three at the back since 2018, since the World Cup, wasn't it? I think some of the best performances I've seen in an England shirt have been with three at the back. That game we had against Spain, where we were 3-0 up at half time. That's the best 45 minutes I've ever seen in an England shirt. We played that, we sat back, three at the back, and we just hit them on the counter attack. We were a different class that day. I think if we can come in and surprise them with that formation and say, do you know what? Let's surprise them. We're not going to play four at the back. We're going to play three at the back with the two wing backs. I think they're going to be a bit surprised by that, and I think we could actually do something. And it might be going back to a style of play that we've actually used to, because we have played our best football under that with that style of play. And give credit to Southgate. That's been him bringing that in. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, whatever happens, isn't it?
I think we'll come back to this at the end, but we'll move on to our other game, so we're not going to neglect it. 8 o'clock kickoff, Sweden, Ukraine at Hampden. And I think Sweden are nailed on favourites for this one. Like, a lot of people have been mentioning them as a team to look out for that have gone under the radar a little bit. And I'm kind of coming round to that thinking a wee bit. The hesitancy I've got is I did this with Turkey and they stunk out the joint. So I don't want to jinx the Swedes, but on paper they've got a really, really solid team, and Forsberg's running the show just now in the midfield, scoring goals as well. They've got Isak, who's been really decent up front as well. Like, talking a counter attack, there's your man. Like, with the pace, and he's not got the end product as yet in this tournament, but that's coming. I think the Swedes have got a real good chance here, but you can't discount Ukraine, who have looked good at times.
I think it's where Ukraine. I before yesterday's absolute magical Monday, as they've calling it, I would say Ukraine were involved in one of the games of the tournament between Holland and Ukraine. Ukraine looked different class. They looked quick. They were playing good football. I know they conceded 3 goals, but they looked solid in certain aspects against the Dutch side. But I thought again they were very much similar to Sweden, where they've got a decent side. They had a really good qualifying campaign, and they've got some talent here with Zinchenko from Man City. They're a decent squad, and they play some decent stuff, and they're an attacking threat. They're an attacking threat, which I don't see Sweden as a massive attacking threat. Sweden have always been that typical structured setup, sit back, hold out, and then take their chances. Where I think Ukraine could take advantage of that by playing their free-flowing, passing football. I think it could be an easy win for Ukraine today if they turn up.
That's a bold call from Scoops there. Like,
So
Sweden
just
are,
wait for the clip and then me getting ripped to shreds on Twitter later.
Sweden are a bit of a throwback in many ways. They're sticking to the 4-4-2. They're hitting on the counter. They're playing pretty direct, pretty effective football. Ukraine have still got the likes of Yaremchuk up front, who's going to cause issues. Yarmolenko's been decent. Zinchenko's a very decent player as well. What do you reckon, Des?
Sweden are doing what Sweden do. I mean,
Yeah.
throughout my whole life, this is the way they've played. And you know what? Like, you look at people like Victor Lindelof, who at Man United, we're saying we need another defender. At Sweden, he's Virgil van Dijk Mark II. Some like playing for Sweden, they seem to step up their game and they know what they're doing. And I think that's the big thing. They've played this style of football for so long. As far back as I remember, they've played this kind of style of football. So when you come in, you know what you're doing. All you're doing is filling a role, but you know the style of play. Ukraine will probably need to score first if they're going to win. They finished third in their group. They lost 2 games. One of them would have been against Austria, I think, and they win North Macedonia. I can't see Ukraine winning, but just because I can't see it, I couldn't see Switzerland knocking out France yesterday.
Yeah.
I couldn't see Croatia going to extra time when they were 3-1 down yesterday. I think Sweden will do the business and just play the way they do. I think it'll be the worst game out of the knockout stages so far, but hey, it don't matter, does it? Just get through.
We do play at 5 o'clock, this, just to warn you. We do play at 5 o'clock. I reckon that's going to be the worst game.
I was going to say, I'm pretty confident 5 o'clock will be the worst game of the round of 16. To be honest.
You would say that, Mozza. How dare you? How dare you, Mozza?
0-0,
Coming
3
home.
shots on goal for 120 minutes and then a penalty shootout. Yeah, there we go.
Listen, as a minority person in this country, by which I mean as a neutral in that game,
Far from neutral, Mozza, far from neutral.
no, I am genuinely neutral going into that England-Germany game because in the past I haven't been. Like, when England have had the likes of John Terry and Ashley Cole and so on playing, it's been really difficult to like the teams. I like Southgate. I think Southgate's a really stand-up guy. There's no one in that England team that I dislike as a person particularly, so I'm pretty neutral. The only issue I've got with England is the media overhyping
100%.
it, which is the same way that, to be honest, I think most people down south are fed up with it as well. It's just a case of let the boys play, and if they do well, then get the hype train going, but don't do it in the group stage.
It's just not just the media, is it? It's like you see some of the chat shows on Twitch, they're saying we should be smashing Scotland 7-0, and you're just like, you just don't do yourself any favours, do you? We just don't do ourselves favours. We've got to be realistic.
Hiya, pal.
I mean, we should be. like, make no mistake about it. And I'm not smashing them 7-0. But when you look at the attacking talent that we have, right? When you look at the attacking talent we have, and somebody said it best the other day. I think it was Ross who's in the chat. Scotland have a great team. England have great individual players. So man for man, we should be smashing teams like Scotland. No disrespect. Teams like Czech Republic, we should probably be scoring more than 1-0. And I'm saying that we should be. I'm not saying we are, because obviously we're not. We lack that attacking free-flowingness that would allow us to do that. And that's, once again, like, our strength, when you look at the players, is our attack. Kane, Sterling, Sancho, Grealish, Foden. These are players that any team, any international team will bite your hands off for. Mm-hmm. And when I say that our attacking team should be better and our attacking fluidity should be better, that's what I mean when I say we should be scoring more goals. So maybe not, maybe I'm going a bit OTT with that we should be smashing Scotland, but we should be scoring way more goals than we do.
This is backtracking already. No, but it's from a point of view. No, the way I see it, and I completely agree with you. We have got that attacking talent. If you look at our front four, if you had the likes of Grealish, Sancho, Foden, and Kane in there, you're looking at 80 million plus for all those players, aren't you? Realistically, I know it's just a market; it's absolutely inflated, but that's it. That's the talent that is in there. I don't think if you want to see that style of football, Southgate isn't the man. Southgate isn't the man. Southgate's the man with the game plan, structured, see it out, hit on the, take your chances when you get them. if you want to have that, I don't even know. Like people said to me, if you wanted to get rid of Southgate, who would you have? I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you who I'd want to have in charge, because we have got a solid team as a whole, but that attacking talent, we could be winning games, you know, easily.
I mean, we're talking about Southgate and his functionality ultimately, and that's what he does. He plays functional football, not entertaining football. He got us through to a semi-final of a World Cup playing this way. I mean, people forget that we didn't play really well during the World Cup in 2018. In fact, I think we played dross a lot of the time, but we ended up in a semi-final, and we were like, you know, a Harry Kane pass away to Raheem Sterling away from potentially going through to the final. So you're right about Southgate. What we'll say about this England team is it's the nicest, most likable, most what looks to be from the outside most bonding team you've seen from an England team. You know, no egos, no club loyalties. Everyone seems to get along. It's brilliant, and Southgate is a likable person. I just think that to unlock, I feel like of the last 3 years, whilst the team has technically moved forward, I don't think the manager has. And I feel like that's where we're going to have that little bit of a bit of clashing heads. But there's talk of Southgate getting a new contract until Euro 2024. So, you know, we will see how long, you know, we might be playing this kind of football for years.
Sorry, Mozza, can you just highlight Mirren City's comment? That's the best comment I've seen today, that is.
I'd love to see England get to the final then lose, so they get the same feeling as a person who's forgotten to pick up their passport, gets to the airport and then realises it's not coming home.
Mirren City, comment of the year. Thank you very much. We're only in June. Oh, brilliant. Outstanding.
Clayco Bantam, that's a point. He's pragmatic. Exactly. That Southgate is there to get results without having a style. He's not a Luis Enrique. He's not got, this is my football philosophy and we will play this way regardless. He will do what he feels is right to grind out results. But yeah, I don't know. I think if England do get through this, momentum will be on their side. Even though they've not kind of shown as much yet, they've done the essential things well, and that's got them through. The worry I would have would be Scotland gave a blueprint on how to play against that Southgate style, and it's not too complex. Like, as much as we're a decent team, we're far from one of the best teams in the tournament, and that was shown when we went out. There's bits of that game plan that Germany can take and basically replicate. Like, the only issue Germany have is they don't have a target man to rough up the defence, which we had with Dykes, but I can't call this. I genuinely can't call England-Germany.
I just say whoever wins today gets to the final. And that's what my expectation will be. I hope it's coming home. I want nothing more for it than to come home. I've waited like 30 years of my life for it to come home. My earliest footballing memory is World Cup 1990, the semi-final against Germany, where we lost on penalties. I really, really want it to come home. It's just if we can get past this German team, and you don't know how good England are going to be, you don't know how consistent Germany are going to be. It's just so up in the air. But fingers crossed. You know, let's have faith in the team. You know, they've not conceded a goal yet. You know, if they continue that, then I'd say we're favourites.
There is a little piece of me that thinks that England might win this and then lose at Wembley in the semi-final to Denmark. Yeah. I hate to put that out there because the Danes are my kind of secret little fancy to go all the way.
Well, now you've said that, Mozza, they're out next round. They're out this round now. You've said that. It's just
Mozza
the jinx.
Have been great. This is true. Yeah. This is very true. Sorry if there are any Danes in the chat just now. I know there's one of you at least that comes on. But yeah, can I get back to that Sweden-Ukraine game because we kind of abandoned it to talk about.
There's another game again.
Is there?
I thought it was only one game today.
I think Ukraine's only win being against North Macedonia isn't the most impressive, is it? Like, as much as they were entertaining to watch, they weren't a fantastic team. Ukraine haven't proven it. Like, they basically bottled it when they came back against the Dutch, is the other thing. They did all that work to come back and then threw it away again. So, like, Sweden, we're talking about teams that are pragmatic. That's what Sweden are as well. They've got the threat on the break. I think it actually suits them because you've got your two strikers rather than one striker and two wingers. Because you've got Isak with the pace coming off of be it Berg or be it Klaassen, somebody a bit slower but a bit more of a target. I just can't see past Sweden. in that one, and they would be, correct me if I'm wrong, they would be the next opponents for England or Germany, is that right?
Yeah.
So that would set up an interesting clash, given that, but you'd call England and Germany both pragmatic as well. It's not setting up a classic. That's what I would say.
If you were England and Germany, though, you would 100% take Sweden in the quarterfinals of the European competition. And this is what I mean. So, like I said, no disrespect. Sweden are very good, very functional. They know their roles, and they're always tough at tournaments. If you beat Sweden, you've earned it, basically. So, yeah, but if you're England or Germany, and this is the thing, like I said, I can't talking about Germany. I've seen worse German teams than this get through to World Cup finals, which is always a bit of a concern for me. But yeah, Sweden, I think Sweden go through. I can't see Ukraine going through today. Sweden are the better team.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Any thoughts, Scoops?
Ukraine are going to win it. That's it. That's it.
He's been a man of big calls.
I think Shevchenko has done a great job since he's been in there. They had a good qualifying campaign. They've got some hidden gems in that squad, and if it's knockout football, I think they could come. Not easily. I think it's not very much. It could be an extra time job, but not winning the Euros, Wally. Come on, be realistic. That's England. But from a point of view of today, yeah, I think a Ukraine win. I think they've got it. I think, to be honest with you, I've only watched a couple of games with Sweden. One of them was against Spain, where defensively they were solid, weren't they? And again, it was they went back to the style of play that they used to and playing that. But I think seeing how dangerous Ukraine have got it and it being knockout football, I think they could do it. I think they could do it and bring.
Right. I think I'm going to make a bold call here as well. I think Sweden win that completely comfortably, 2-0, 3-0. I just do not see Ukraine doing anything in that game. So we're at loggerheads here, Scoops.
There's got to be some sort of charity bet right there now, isn't there? There's got to be some sort of charity bet.
I'm happy to put a tenner on Sweden for charity, and if you do the same for Ukraine, and whoever wins gives it off.
Deal.
Job done.
Do it.
There we go. Money for a good cause at the end of the day as well.
Yep.
And I'll pick, whoever wins it gets to pick the cause. There you go. If that's a deal.
That's a deal.
I feel like a third wheel here, so I'll just say I agree.
Apologies, does.
I mean,
so we have 2 minutes left, and I'm going to finish with a question that I started. Is it coming home? Are England going all the way, or are they going to? Well, are they getting to Wembley firstly, and then secondly, are they going to win the tournament?
I'll go yes, they're getting to Wembley because they're playing in the next round today at Wembley, to be fair. So fair play to them. They're definitely getting to Wembley, I can confirm. Unless the coach gets lost. But they practice 3 times, right? Will they? I think they'll beat Germany. I don't think it'll be pretty. I think, and maybe more hope they'll beat Germany. Is it coming home after that? They'll get through to the final. If they get through today, whoever wins today gets through to the final.
How about you, Skips?
So I'm, again, a very negative human being, I must admit. And after the PTSD of 2018, thinking it was coming home for the 15 minutes of when that Trippier goal went in, I thought, yes, it's coming home. That's it. It's coming home. But since then, I've just been so negative. So I don't think it's coming home. Do I think we'll win today? I think we will nick it. 1-0 win today. And I think we'll, very much similar to Diz, I think we'll get to the final if we do win today, but I don't think it's coming home.
I did ask last night on Twitter for opinions, and what did we get? About 220 odd votes. 2/3 think Germany are winning. So that's an interesting little.
Just think where you're based, Mozza. Just think where you're based.
I was going to say, that's going to be all your Scottish fans, isn't it?
To be fair, if I did the same, I'd probably get exactly the same response, to be fair. So
I mean, we're technically neutrals at this point, right? We've come out the group of death.
Yeah, neutrals. I've heard that before.
Yeah.
we got knocked out the official group of death, and that's how my narrative is going for this tournament now. Yeah. So I found an excuse for us. I'm happy. Technically, if England win tonight, it validates that further, so I'm quite happy for England to go through tonight. But yeah, now that we've hit 10 o'clock, gents, can I ask you to share your Twitters and various links, and then we'll finish up?
Yeah, so my Twitch is Mr_Diz83. And so is my TikTok. I'm on TikTok. So is my TikTok.
almost-
I'm on TikTok. Follow me on
There's,
TikTok.
I saw your first one yesterday. I nearly vomited in my mouth. I
It was the best one ever. See, my TikTok is so good that Scoop's nearly vomited knowing he will never ever get to that level. Right. He feels sick knowing that his life has peaked watching my TikTok. You can be that person too.
Oh, yeah, that's me. Oh my god, it's so good. You know, that was it. That was
It could
it.
happen to anyone.
So good.
I'll never hit that level.
Yeah, so that's where you can find me.
Des is slightly addicted to TikTok, you might realise.
I've already edited 2 videos for today.
And then Scoops, who I don't think is addicted to TikTok.
No, I'm not. I did think about starting, but I'm going to give it a miss, I think. But yeah, Scoops Callahan 1 on Twitch, and also on Twitter, I'm SCG_1_, sorry. So yeah, drop me a follow.
And I'll share the guys in my tweet later on as well, as always. So listen, thank you very much again, folks, for jumping in. The chat's been moving like nobody's business again. Good luck to England. I'll put the caveat on it of you might not have the full backing of your friends up north, but we'll see how it goes. Enjoy the games, and we will be back. It'll be Friday now, because there's no games through till Friday for the quarters. So I'll see you Friday morning. It might be slightly longer. We'll see how it goes. But otherwise, enjoy your games, and I should probably queue a raid up, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Let me quickly see if there's anyone talking.
So while you're doing that, Mozza, I'll just start this. It's coming home.
No,
it's
I'm
coming.
finishing the
There's
stream.
straight in
I'm
there.
ending the stream.
Oh, Mozza, don't you like that? If I knew that, I would have sung it the whole way through.
Coming.
Football's coming home.
it's
Come on,
funny how
Mozza.
It's coming home.
Come on,
the original
Mozza.
meme
It's
song that's
coming
became
home.
real.
Come on, Mozza, you got this.
Like, there's no one that's live talking football, so we are just going to finish the stream for now. But hopefully next time we'll have other Euros streams to jump into. I've been Mozza. He's been Mr. Diz. Up that way. He's been Scoops Callahan, and we will catch you guys later on. Cheers.